The North Atlantic in autumn is a vast, grey wilderness, both a highway and a graveyard for Viking sailors. The sea breathes in icy swells, its mist clinging to everything. For these men, their world is reduced to the length of a wooden ship, far from land. Waves crash over the low sides, soaking the crew to the bone. Men huddle together, beards crusted with salt and ice, hands numb as they grip the railings. This is not a journey for the faint-hearted. It's a brutal test of endurance. They are a tiny, vulnerable speck in a vast, indifferent ocean. They sail on the edge of survival, pushing human limits. To reach their prize, they must first conquer the North Atlantic's fury. Their journey is a testament to the power of the human spirit. This is how legends are born, on the edge of the world, in the heart of darkness. The greatest danger in the North Atlantic wasn't the storm. It was the water itself. Cold water steals life with ruthless efficiency, pulling heat from the body up to 25 times faster than air. Falling overboard meant a race against time. The initial shock could cause a gasp. If underwater, a man could drown instantly. If he survived, his body would fight to preserve core temperature, shivering violently. But the cold is relentless. Shivering weakens, then stops. Confusion and disorientation set in as the mind fails. Hypothermia tricks its victims, lulling them into a false sense of warmth before the end. Muscles go numb, grip fails, and unconsciousness follows. In these frigid waters, a man had only minutes, 10, maybe 15, before death. The Vikings knew this intimately. They'd seen men vanish beneath the waves. Every precaution, every piece of clothing, every strategy was about staying dry and alive. The sea was a liquid tomb, and survival depended on vigilance. Staying dry wasn't about comfort, it was about life or death. One slip, one wave, and the cold would claim another. The Vikings' battle was constant, their respect for the ocean absolute. They dressed, worked, and lived with hypothermia always in mind. The cold kiss of death was never far away. Their survival depended on knowledge, preparation, and luck. The North Atlantic demanded everything, and often took it. For the Vikings, every day at sea was a victory over the elements. Their story is a warning. In the North Atlantic, the cold is always waiting. Only the prepared survive. The Vikings' secret weapon against the cold wasn't steel, it was wool. North Atlantic sheep produced fleece, perfectly adapted to harsh, wet conditions. Wool's unique structure traps air, insulating even when wet. Unlike linen or cotton, wool wicks moisture away and can absorb up to 30% of its weight without feeling damp. When wet, wool even generates a small amount of heat, a lifesaver for drenched sailors. Lanolin-rich wool was naturally water-resistant. Vikings preserved this by gentle washing. A woolen cloak, or vararfelder, shed rain and spray, keeping layers underneath drier. Wool's combination of insulation, moisture wicking, and water resistance made it essential survival gear. For a Viking, a woolen tunic was as vital as a sword or rudder. It was the difference between life and death on the open sea. Wool was not just clothing, it was technology, honed by nature and necessity. The Vikings' mastery of wool was a triumph of adaptation. One garment wasn't enough. The Vikings mastered layering. Their clothing system created a personal microclimate, adaptable to changing conditions. A woolen base layer wicks sweat from the skin, keeping it dry. Over this, loose woolen tunics trapped insulating air. The outermost layer, a heavy lanolin-rich cloak, shielded against wind and water. Accessories mattered. Woolen hats, mittens, socks, and leg wraps protected extremities. leather shoes stuffed with moss or wool, insulated feet. This layered approach was practical genius, refined by centuries of survival. Each layer had a purpose: manage moisture, trap heat, block the elements. The Viking wardrobe was a masterpiece of cold-weather engineering. Viking longships were fast and flexible, but comfort was sacrificed for function. The open deck offered no shelter. Men lived, worked, and slept exposed to the elements. Warmth was communal. Crews huddled together, sharing body heat. Space was cramped, but this closeness helped them survive the cold. Sleep was dangerous. A man alone could freeze. The solution: the hudfat, a two-man sleeping bag of sheepskin or fur. Sharing a sleeping space could mean the difference between life and death. Sea chests doubled as benches and storage, and sometimes a spare sail became a makeshift tent. Every night was a struggle for warmth and rest. Survival depended on cooperation and ingenuity. Life on a long ship was a relentless test of endurance and unity. Fire was both a blessing and a threat on a wooden ship. Open flames risked disaster, so the Vikings used a stone-lined hearth box, the board, insulated from the deck. Fire was used sparingly, mainly for cooking hot meals, vital for morale and warmth. Its heat was limited. Men took turns warming themselves and drying clothes. The hearth was a social hub, but fire safety was paramount. Fires were only lit in calm weather, always closely watched. Buckets of seawater stood ready to douse stray sparks. This careful balance allowed the Vikings to harness fire's benefits without risking catastrophe. On the high seas, even a small flame was a triumph of control over chaos. Viking survival techniques are the foundation of modern cold-weather wisdom. Their layering system is echoed in today's outdoor gear: wicking base, insulating mid-layer, waterproof shell. Wool's unique properties are still prized by survival experts. Cotton kills is a modern mantra the Vikings understood instinctively. Communal survival, sharing body heat, remains a key strategy in emergencies. The two-man hudfat lives on in modern bivouac techniques. The Vikings proved that knowledge, cooperation, and the right gear are the keys to survival. Their legacy endures in every cold-weather expedition. The North Atlantic forged the Vikings, resilient, resourceful, and tough. Their survival was built on deep knowledge, preparation, and teamwork. They mastered their environment, from shipbuilding to clothing to fire management. This wisdom was their greatest treasure, passed down through generations. The woolen tunic, layered clothing, and shared sleeping bag were solutions, not just objects. Their voyages were triumphs of endurance and ingenuity. The real Viking story is not just raids, but daily survival on the open sea. It's a lesson in preparation, adaptation, and the power of community. The North Atlantic was relentless, but the Vikings met its challenge and won. Their legacy is a timeless lesson in facing the abyss and surviving.